It was once considered the wildest place in the West, more dangerous than Dodge City, and more deadly than Tombstone. Or so the story goes.
Today we attempt to sift the fact from the fiction as we unravel the mystery behind the ghost town of Canyon Diablo, Arizona. Also, if you stick with us to the end of the video, we'll give you directions on how to get to the site known as Canyon Diablo. Stay with us, travelers. We're going beyond the exit.
Simply said, it's a tale of two towns. One of a railroad town so tough that it went through 6 sheriffs in a year and a half. The first one only lasting 5 hours before he was dead and buried. The flip side of this tale is not nearly so colorful. A railroad camp that was built around a location of construction on a bridge across Canyon Diablo. Let's go back to 1853. In the hot and dusty high desert of what is now northern Arizona, U.S. Army Lieutenant Emil Weeks Whipple of the Army's topographical engineers had a big problem. Standing before him, exactly where it shouldn't have been, lay a gaping canyon 255 feet deep, impeding the path of his survey team and their mission to find a railroad route along the 35th parallel. He aptly named the canyon Canyon Diablo, or Devil's Canyon. With this background information, the question one might ask is why anyone would attempt to build a town in such a foreboding wilderness. The answer was simply one of necessity. You see, the Atlantic and Pacific Railroad was on the move, following along the pathways laid out by those before them along the 35th parallel, and just like those before them, they were stopped by the gorge named Canyon Diablo. Therefore, it is a fact that in 1881, while awaiting crews to complete the bridge across the canyon, a small camp town was built to facilitate the workers. This was a fairly common occurrence at the time because there really wasn't anywhere else for them to go. Also common were the merchants and entrepreneurs that catered to this rolling community. Most of the rail workers were young men, either single or married, far away from their homes and families, looking for something more than the company provided to spend their hard-earned money on. Here, the legend was born. You see, there was not much in the way of historical record nor documents from this time concerning the town. Most of what has been told of the Ragged Railroad Camp was provided by a single source, an author named Gladwell Richardson, who by the way wasn't even alive when it happened, but told the story as if he knew everyone there personally. If we listen to Mr. Richardson's rendition, it goes something like this. Canyon Diablo was a tough place to live, mainly comprised of a tent city. It later grew to become larger because of delays, all attributed to one simple thing. The prefabricated railroad bridge built to span the canyon was too short. Work stoppages and tireless waiting became the norm and placed an enormous financial burden on the rail company itself. What was intended to be a 6-month routine bridge construction became an 18-month costly embarrassment. During that time, the town population ballooned from 500 to 2,000 residents. Idle hands are the devil's playground, as they say, which may partially explain why the main path through town was known simply as Hell Street. Lawlessness was the standard, mainly because the nearest lawman was 100 miles away, making the camp a draw for robbers, thieves, gamblers, and prostitutes, all looking to make a fast buck and to avoid a marshal's gaze. According to Richardson's recounting of the stories told him, there were no fewer than 14 saloons, 10 gambling establishments, 4 brothels, 2 dance halls. At one point, it was said to be so bad that a shooting, armed robbery, battery, or other violent crime happened almost hourly. A stagecoach ran between Flagstaff and Canyon Diablo, which also encountered many a theft attempt. When justice finally arrived in the form of the town's first marshal, it was said the poor man was pinned and sworn in at 3 p.m. and laid to rest by 8. 5 more successors would follow, all eventually meeting violent deaths in the line of duty in Canyon Diablo. A Boot Hill cemetery was built, but reached its capacity so quickly that the dead were said to have been buried at the edge of town, or even where they fell. Just as it all reached a crescendo, then it ended. The railroad bridge was completed, a spindly affair at best. Italian stonemasons had cut the support blocks from the surrounding Kaibab limestone. The re-engineered supports and rail were laid. and the railroad workers and tag-along industries crossed the canyon with the train, most likely never to return. After its completion, the A&P Railway promoted the bridge to be the highest rail crossing in the world at the time, most likely to explain why a heavenly amount of $200,000 had been spent in order to span the Devil's Canyon. Move forward to today, and most of what existed at the time has been completely erased. Several foundations, a grave marker placed for Mr. Herman Wolf, owner of Wolf's Trading Post, which was located some miles away from the site, was laid to rest here. Most of the ruins in the Canyon Diablo today were built well after the ghost town's demise. Even the original bridge is gone, replaced by a more substantial structure supporting the double-track traffic here since 1947. The only remnants of the $200,000 bridge are its footings, pictured here. This is still a very busy crossing for the BNSF Railroad. Also, the Amtrak Southwest Chief pushes across here as well. Once they fade into the distance, you can hear the cars on the nearby Interstate 40, a few miles away, and the lonely wind whispering through the canyon. And Gladwell Richardson, well, he released his book on the area's history in 1968. Many newspapers, magazine articles, and other tales of the ghost town reference this one work as if it were gospel. But several questions still remain. Had Mr. Richardson been faithful in his chronicle of alleged stories told to him by the locals? Was there a town so mean that a violent crime happened nearly every hour? And if so, why wasn't anyone else talking about it? Scholars, either softly or in some cases vehemently, label the entire Two Guns Arizona book as mere myth. However, some would argue the counterpoint as well, stating that it's just revisionist historians attempting to wipe away this part of Arizona's dark past. Either way, it makes for one great story.
And there's our story, travelers. I sincerely hope you enjoyed it as much as we enjoyed making it. And as promised, you made it to the end of the video. So here's how you can get directions to Canyon Diablo. First of all, we've created a short that should be appearing right here. This will tell you how to get there in turn-by-turn directions, and the nice thing about shorts is once they reach the end, they repeat again. Plus, they're formatted for your phone. If you'd like more straightforward directions, look in the description below and you'll find a Google Map link along with turn-by-turn directions, how to get there either eastbound or westbound off of I-40. Word to the wise, you're going to need a high-clearance vehicle to get back into the area. Also, if you enjoyed this video, we would love to have you as a part of our journey. Please subscribe and like our channel and leave us a comment below. That helps us get our stories out to a larger audience on YouTube. We'll see you next time, travelers. Happy travels and God bless.